Welcome and thank you so much for coming to Joy and Pain, a movement in 8 parts. My name is Suzi Q Smith, and this is Holly K. Hurd, and we are your artists of the day.
Welcome to Joy and Pain, everyone. Welcome to Art Students League of Denver. Thank you guys for coming out. Joy and Pain, a movement. Rachel over here is the director of Art Students League. Had approached us about doing an exhibit that was just kind of reflective of the times that we are currently living in. Our overall objective with this exhibit was just to kind of speak to not only the now, but also speak to some of the backstory. This flag we put up just a couple of days ago was like the first piece that went up. And the flag is actually inspired by a diagram. The diagram speaks to kind of the timeline of Black people in this country. This flag was inspired by a diagram that showed a timeline of our history in America. It's a powerful diagram because it puts things in real perspective, specifically that we have not been free for the same amount of time that we were enslaved in this country. The red block represents American slavery from 1526 to 1865. The black represents segregation from 1865 to 1954. And the green represents integration from 1954 to the present. This flag at least tells a portion of our story accurately. I'm not sure I could say the same about the American flag. So I think when you just kind of look at history, again, so many of us are visual learners, but sometimes when you see it laid out in that way, it hits you completely differently than speaking in years and numbers and reading it in history books. But when you see that the period of enslavement just up against, from segregation to now, it's just like, whoa, So that was the inspiration behind the flag. And the background of the diagram is white, but I did contemplate changing it, but I thought it was white just because another way of just kind of like waving the white flag and just saying it's just like enough already. Like it's just all too much. So the point of this exhibit was to kind of say to everyone, for me, I don't know about how you, I don't want to speak for Suzi, but I felt like if there was one message I would want to get out, it is just that, while many people have gotten really involved and I think kind of become much more aware of the severity of things since George Floyd and all of these just horrible atrocities that continue to go on literally daily, that this story goes back. You know what I mean? That these atrocities started literally from the minute we got here. Like they have not stopped. It is the exact same, behavior in different clothing. The exact same. It really hasn't changed. So I think it's really important for people to understand that, to really understand kind of just the struggle and the plight, the anger, the sadness, the hurt. It's so many things wrapped up into the experience. So. And I'm going to give it over to the wordsmith, pun intended, Suzi Q Smith, who's much better at these things.
I think you're excellent at these. Thank you, Holly. It's an honor to be here today. So Rachel got Holly and I together maybe 3 months ago now to start talking about this show. And I love Holly very much as a person and as an artist, and so I was really happy to get a chance to work with her, even though we are in the midst of all type of crises. But what better time to create art? So that's where we are right now. So we've been working together on a few things. There are a number of pieces up. I dipped my toe a little bit into visual art, and the only time I ever do that is with Holly. The only time that happens is I'm a writer, I'm a poet, performer, singer, songwriter, do a bunch of things, but generally related to words. So I'm going to bring up one of our friends. This is also like collaboration. This is such a big story that you really can't have one person telling it, and it really, really takes many, many of us. And as Holly mentioned, this is going to continue to evolve through October. I also want to mention to you that on this staircase, there are a number of names on this staircase. And if you should feel inclined to contribute something to an altar along that staircase, I would welcome it. So you could stand with that staircase, feel how you feel. But this is not a new story, it's an ongoing story. So thank you again for coming. And tonight we're going to begin with the first performance from our dear friend Jeff Campbell, who is the creative director of Emancipation Theater Company. And Jeff is going to give us a piece of a play that he wrote, a one-man show that was highly acclaimed, called Who Killed Jigaboo Jones? So without further ado, I would like to welcome Jeff Campbell to the stage.
Keep that love going for Holly, Suzi, and Rachel for putting this together. This is an important event. This is great for us to come together at Emancipation Theater. We get up every morning for this. What we call this is storytelling amplifies us. When we come together as individuals, after a shared experience, a shared stories, we leave as an us. We're no longer a group of individuals, maybe a couple or a handful, a family that came together. But when we all have the shared experience, we walk away in a different light, in a different step. This piece that I'm going to do is an excerpt called The Making of a Jigaboo. And Who Killed Jigaboo Jones? The story is about a rapper who was killed, and all the people in his life are giving a perspective. It's like a mockumentary on the hip hop industrial complex, right? The images that we see in hip hop and the idea of who black people are. So the making of a jigaboo is to tell a little story, if you will, about how these things come into being, the origin of these stereotypes, the origin of these ideas. So that's what this piece is called. So thank you so much for your time, your attention, your participation, your perspiration, for being out here. Thank you so much. They say life imitates art, but sometimes it's the other way around. Influenced by the images I see, how to get paid, be a gangster, or play one on TV. Now I see where it got me. I wasn't always a jigaboo. It was a conscious decision, but not completely. I was conditioned by the television. It guided the direction of my perception, so I was destined for the casket or the Department of Corrections. I had no other real ambitions, you see. This was my mentality. So in the meantime, it was get the green time and spend it like a fiend time, living in a dream time. Why? Because reality was not satisfactory. A real black man got no respect, actually. And being a jigaboo seemed to come naturally. So we were just getting our respect, right? I mean, this is what you call respect, right? It takes time to make a jigaboo. First, you gotta break the neck of identity, then sever from the soul any sense of dignity, then deny life and liberty until all we can do is pursue happiness. As we race each other side by side like dogs on a track as we chase the little white bunny rabbit. Why? Because we're out of context. So confused as you dangle the carrot, I wanna believe it's organic, but underneath the label I can see it's just another GMO. A glorified, meaningless occupation. We make fools of ourselves to receive a standing ovation. Still, we praise it because we're so hungry for acceptance and appreciation and seek to be a part of your association, volunteer for your organization. You see, this is how jigaboos are made. We will do anything to please those who pay. The prostitute is the archetype, no matter the attribute, the equivalent of hoes for dough, because we believe it will buy us back what we lost and what we lack, but the law is cause and effect, and it matters how you respond and react. I can give you ample examples, you see. I come from a long line of jigaboos. It wasn't just me. Let's travel back to 1790 and meet Sarah Bartman, a black woman born of a South African tribe, transformed into a jigaboo right before our eyes. Hottentot Venus, the stage name in the Paris Freak Show. The original video vixen. You never seen hips so thick. She was built like a brick house, so beautiful. But to the European, she was so unusual. After her novelty in the circus came to a conclusion, she became a drunk, supporting herself through prostitution. She spoke her native tongue, Dutch, English, and French. But to you, just a jigaboo, just another nigger wench. In 1815, her cause of death was undetermined. She lived as an exhibit, beholden to bribery and coercion. She died as a jigaboo, degrading and uncertain. So let's meet a pygmy born in 1883, one of the most important jigaboos in history. Not unlike Sarah Otabinga's life, she was on a hunting trip when she lost his children and wife to captors, and soon thereafter he too had a master but was set free for a piece of cloth and a pound of salt. He became a jigaboo, but it wasn't his fault. See, the man he trusted in left him behind to sinister men who put him in the chimpanzee exhibition in the Bronx Zoo. A human being in the zoo in 1906 paid to show his teeth a whole 5 cents, told onlookers he was a cannibal without any evidence, unlike Jeffrey Dahmer or Jamestown colonists or Albert Fish. I mean, this shit is ridiculous. Well, eventually he was finally set free, and he still believed America was the place to be, so he tried to assimilate. Just like a jigaboo, that was his biggest mistake. So in 1916, his own life he would take. He stole a pistol, shot himself in the heart. He died just like a jigaboo. Yeah, he played his part. Now, just 3 years before Otabinga was in the zoo, a man was born and did what nobody believed a jigaboo could do. He became a millionaire just by acting like a fool and paved the way for Pryor, Murphy, Chappelle, Chris Rock too. Out of all the jigaboos, no one could ever forget L.T. Monroe Andrew Perry, a.k.a. Stepin Fetchit. Known as the laziest man in the world, yet no one remembers. He was also a writer for the Chicago Defender. He filed for bankruptcy, converted to Islam. Soon after, he had a stroke, and his career was gone. Died in '85 without a penny or his pride. Some say he's a legend, while others despise. See, we become the jigaboo because we play the coon for cash. See, I don't mean to put all jigaboos on blast, but when it comes to the industry, that's how we last. Until we die broke, replaced by another and a thing of the past. From the plantation to the hood and through the lens of Hollywood, America swallowed the propaganda to perpetuate the agenda of a second-class state. Misunderstanding and hate of those with the images I portrayed would throw black hands out. To minimize the hands up and maximize the handcuffs, they isolate the ones who make it, draw them out and separate it from the communities that reared them and gave them careers when nobody white knew their name, and they were satisfied with hood fame. But when the big checks came, and when the audience wasn't the same, so you switched up the game, and you changed your last name, and you watered it down, and the colors began to fade, and that's how jigaboos are made. Peace. My name is Jeff Campbell. Thank you very much.
One more round of applause for Jeff Campbell. Thank you for that. EmancipationTheater.com is where we can learn more about Jeff's work. He's a very important voice in Denver and has been for a long time, so I highly recommend you support him and look into his work. I do want to tell you a couple of things that I forgot to mention, that there are some poems that are taped to the fence, and the ones that are taped to the fence, you are welcome to take. They are gifts to you today. And I might put some more up over these next few weeks. I probably will. But it might be a one-time only. And they're signed with a little gold Sharpie. So I feel like that makes it even more like a one-time only, because I don't know where that Sharpie is anymore. I already lost it. So feel free to take a poem with you if you feel particularly moved. So the original concept of this show also was ekphrasis, right? So a lot of the pieces that are here are Holly and I informed each other's work and inspired each other in a number of these pieces. And so I want to read a couple of pieces that were inspired by Holly's. Starting with a short one, which I titled, They Buried Us. We spilled seed, spit seeds, diaspora rooting, root, raptured, captured, cured with salt. And you can see that piece over here, and you can probably guess which piece I'm referring to there. So another piece that, I had to breathe in a second, because this one's, I don't read this piece often. But it is definitely in conversation with one of Holly's, and this is called Night Doctors. A recent survey of medical students in the US revealed that most of them believe that black people don't feel as much pain as white people. Doctors are routinely reluctant to treat pain in black patients, and you wonder why we don't trust doctors. See Tuskegee. Western medicine is built on the theft of black bodies, the robbing of graves, the experimenting on the enslaved, carving, testing, sweating black bodies to understand illness. For centuries, they routinely sold black people to doctors and hospitals as experiments. How do you call black people animals while carving our bodies to understand your own anatomy? And you wonder why we don't trust you. Lately, more and more of my homegirls been giving birth at home. See J. Marion Sims, the father of modern gynecology, who perfected his surgical techniques on the 14 black women he owned and operated on with no anesthesia. See Fannie Lou Hamer and thousands of other black women, including my auntie, who were sterilized against their will. My grandmother worked as a surgical technician at the same hospital for over 30 years. When I take her to the doctor now, they talk to her like she's stupid. When most of us go to the doctor now, they talk to us like we're liars. When my cousin had a stroke, my family had to keep a 24-hour vigil to keep the hospital from killing her. Meanwhile, the entire medical field is built on black bodies. Black bodies have been saving lives since before this country was a country. Black bodies have cured cancer. See Henrietta Lacks in the cells they stole from her. See the black prisoners in Philadelphia's Holmesburg prison, where Dow Chemical paid to test potential carcinogens on them until the 1970s. See Eb Cade and the other black people who were injected with plutonium and uranium during the 1940s to test the effects of radiation on humans. Say humans. Are we human now? Once you have sliced us open and compared the colors of our innards. During a remodel of the Georgia Medical School in 1989, they found nearly 10,000 bodies under the earth floor, nearly all of them belonging to black people. Say black bodies. Black people are the reason a lot of y'all are breathing. I want to say something about vampires. I want to say something about cannibals. I want to say something about humans. Do you know that we are human? Have you opened up enough of us to know our hearts? See how I perform this surgery on myself right now. See how open and bloody I can be. See how human, say human. Say my body is worth every ounce of your body. I have lived with chronic illness since I was a child. The last time I went to a doctor, he said I just needed to get more cardio and said nothing of the pain that prevents it. Was clear in his assertion that there was nothing more he could do for me after I resisted him pressing his genitals against me during the examination. I left his office through a waiting room filled with other poor black people on public health care with a prayer for every one of them, knowing for sure that prayer has been the best medicine my people ever had. Thank you. And as you walk around and take a look at the pieces, you'll see pretty specifically which one that one refers to. And now we're going to get into it. Yeah, actually, I'm going to do this one real quick. And then we're going to get into it, because I got to do this one while I'm still functional. And sometimes my poems wreck me emotionally. It makes it hard to talk. But yeah, so we talked about like the concept of this show, right? And I very much wanted to talk about joy. And Holly very much was like, nah. And yet we have endured, right? And yet we have survived. And yet there is rage. And yet there is pain. And so all of these things. So if you're not familiar with Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, that's who we're talking about when we say joy and pain, a movement. Also, Frankie Beverly in The Maze, but which the song refers to. So a little bit more recent Black history for you, but you should check into that. If you're not familiar with the song, get familiar, and you're welcome. So that's the name of the show. But this piece is called Black Rage in 4-part harmony. 1, I am easy black, indie black, light black, like black light, your black friend, so cliche, your only black employee. Want me to give you permission, want me to be your soundtrack, want to touch my hair, want to end of summer compare skin tones. I always lose, still blacker than you. You will follow me through the store, offer to hold my things at the counter until I'm ready to check out, but you will still ride the elevator and will probably not clutch your purse. I listen to gangster rap loud with the windows down when I drive through your neighborhood, cause fuck you. So I don't know if there are any children. I was like, my bad. I listen to gangster rap loud with the windows down when I drive through your neighborhood, cause fuck you. I have stolen your boyfriends on purpose, or at least glances from them to shame you. I have balled up my tongue into Gatling guns, spit sour nickels into a sack and hit you with it. It never lashes the same way as racial slurs, no matter how hard I whip my words. 2. My grandmother instructed us all hard molasses the first time strangers referred to us as Negro children. It was a word we had not heard before. Around this house, we are black. She spoke easy as hot comb smoking, smooth blue magic, sharp surprise of burnt ears and stinging sit-stills. Around our Sunday afternoon table, we used to smile into each other's black faces. We laughed magnificent black and loved each other with an unbreakable blackness. My mother still wants to believe I could white the same way, a flash of teeth, a sprinkle of freckle. I tell her that most white people only want me white when they want to win an argument. Strangers still ask me sometimes what I am. They often preface the question with, I mean, I can see you have some black in you. I laugh blackly, not minding the question so much as their expectation of an answer. I am the end of the pool that no one is afraid of until the bottom drops out. Sometimes this light skin gets me invited to parties that I'm not really welcome at. 3. Why you so mad? Why you so mad? Why you got a chip on your shoulder? Why you so mad? Why you can't just drink? Why you can't just dance? Why you can't just laugh? We were only joking, all present company excluded all, but you're not like that, Susie. I mean, all I said was ghetto. All I said was ratchet. All I said was nappy. Why you can't just relax? Why you can't just press and curl? Why you can't just pop your booty? Why you can't just drop it? Everybody's dropping it. Why you so mad? Why you so mad? Why you so mad? Why you so black? 4. There are 3 basic ways to make a noose. The first is to run the tail of the rope through a fixed loop. The second and most common way is to tie a simple knot around the standing part of the rope. When pulled, the knot side closes the loop, the heel of a hand pressed against an easy throat, a gate left foolishly swinging open. The third is the same as the second, except that pulling the knot will open the loop like the string on a yo-yo, but this is usually only done by mistake. This is not a promise, only finger and thumb unraveling, a tongue tying and untying interlaced fingers and knots. It is hushed whispers over a fledgling tree that everyone knows was watered with blood, except, of course, the tree. Wonders why her arms grow out so snatching, why she shake them loose when they fool enough to climb menacing into her afro leaves, why everyone knows she is too hungry a place for their children to swing. Black people, once free, did not gather in mobs and hunt, despite all the same access to trees and rope. I'm going to close with this one. It's called Sweetback. When Chris Dorner trained his gun on the LAPD, when he released a manifesto addressed to America, subject last resort, we knew it was clearly a suicide note. I take no joy in the blood on his hands nor his burnt body, but it comes as no great shock that some policemen look like overseers even now, so yes. When he quoted D.H. Lawrence, I never saw a wild thing feel sorry for itself. I wanted to tell him to run, not because he was innocent, but even the foreshadow of defeat is enough to awaken the adrenaline when your bones remember the burning. I wanted to tell him to run, not for himself, nor his own iron hands, but for Fred Hampton, for Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr., and Amadou Diallo, and Troy Davis, and Trayvon Martin, and Paul Childs, and Ramarley Graham, and Sean Bell, and Oscar Grant, and Rekia Boyd, and Timothy Stansbury, and Orlando Barlow, and Aaron Campbell, and Victor Steen,
and Stephen Washington, and Alonzo Ashley, and Wendell Allen, and Ayanna Stanley Jones, who was 7 years old, and Ronald Madison, and James Brissett, and John Crawford III, and Eric Garner, and Erica Garner, and Mike Brown, and Tamir Rice, and Walter Scott, and Cameron Tillman, and Eric Harris, and Sandra Bland, and Alton Sterling, and Philando Castile, and Alva Brazil, and Kevin Leroy Beasley, and John Bazemore III, and Breonna Taylor, and Jacob Blake, and so many more names that I will never know. And I did not know any of these people, but damned if they couldn't have all been my family. And no, I know they say it's not a war, but damned if I don't feel like an insurgent sometimes and know I've never killed anyone, but have long since admitted that I could. I mean, America, you got big guns. I ain't scared though, not with this working womb. America, you thought the Black Panther free breakfast program was scary. You ain't met me yet. We've been through a lot, America. I think that now, for every one of our children you allow to be murdered, I will make two with brothers gully as they come, all grit and swagger and knuckle and earth and gleam, beards all unapologizing, brothers who won't smile at you, brothers who ain't never been afraid of you, brothers who smell just like the sun. We will raise our babies together like militia ticking. We will detonate them on your college campuses, at your job, in your neighborhood. We will suck up all the financial aid. We will teach Fred Hampton in the classroom until his blood can stop screaming. You don't want it with we, America. We, Black mothers, are angry as ever, are fertile as ever, and unafraid of our children. I'm not leaving, America. We will take over the schools and send your daughters home smiling like Patty Hearst, America. You feeling me now? You fearing me now? I might even have your babies, America. They will be black too, America. This is a war. America, I will send my sons to all your corners. You will be needing their light. America, this is no manifesto. This is a love poem. Making love is the only way I know how to save you. Your hatred and fear are a cancer. Your teeth are rotting from your head. America, now is the time to call on whatever God you pray to. Give thanks for my brilliant sons. Yes, there will be sons, black sons, and we will call them all Jamal and Rakim, and we will love them. We will love them. We're not dying, America. We will live forever. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. It is such a trip to be here right now. And looking at the top of my middle school, which is now a parking lot, Go Middle School, that's part of it right there. So being from Denver and watching this place change over time is pretty powerful. But one of my favorite parts of Denver are its people. And one of the people that I met when I was a student at Go Middle School is about to bless this stage right now, April Axé Charmaine. Man, we teepeed houses together in middle school, in fact, actually. We go way back to the way back. And so I'm going to try and clear some of my poems out of your way. But so April is the founder and director of Soul Vida Dance Company. And we are very lucky that she is here in town with us today and is going to give us a song.
The virus took on many shapes. The bear, the elk, the antelope, the elephant, the deer, the mineral, the iron, the copper, the culture, the rubber, the coffee, the cotton, the sugar, the people, the people. The germs travel faster than the bullet. They harvest the mountainside, protect the crops, herd the cattle. The people, the people, the people, talented people, talented people, talented people, talented people, talented people, be another talented people, talented people, talented people, talented people, be another talented people, talented people, talented people, talented people, be another talented people, talented people, talented people, talented people, talented, be mine. land would rather see us disappear. Recyclable prayers. The people. This is my body, which is given for you. The people. This is my blood. We are not a conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. We are not a conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. We are not a conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. We are not a conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered people. Conquered.
One more time for April Axé Charmaine. For Jeffrey Campbell. For Holly Kay. For Art Students League of Denver and Rachel Basie for bringing us all here today. Where's Rachel? Oh, there she is. Rachel. Do you want to greet the people, Rachel?
I do. I want to greet the people, but
Okay.
I also want to invite Holly up here and Suzi. I'd like you to stay.
Okay.
We have a little recognition for these two amazing ladies. I think you can see now why these are the two I reached out to about how we can make a statement about what was happening in our culture today. And as I was fully sure, they've put together just an amazing exhibit and performance. I'm so glad they were able to bring in these other wonderful artists for the performance tonight. As they shared, this exhibit will be up through the end of October, and I anticipate that they will be adding pieces, both visual and written work, so please feel free to come back and see how it evolves. And I also want to just share quickly, while I think Joanna's joining me up here in a minute, right? Yeah, okay. So don't leave yet. We also have an exhibit happening on the other side of our space here called Modern Indigenous Living, that is by Greg Deal, who is an artist who lives in Colorado Springs. He's a native artist, and that is also going to be an evolving installation piece over the same time period. So after we're done talking here today, please feel free to wander around, look at all the amazing art on this side if you haven't had a chance to yet, and also you're free to head over there and check that out as well. And here comes Joanne. We want to thank you so much, the two of you, for everything that you've done to get us thinking and to helping us figure out a different way. So let's give everyone one more round of applause.
Can I say something real
Yes,
fast?
yes.
I just want to say really, really quickly, I also want to give a hand to Rachel. Not only is she, director of Art Students League, but I just want to say she's like a really good person who does not try to like censor and control artists. Like she really is about creative voice. And I don't know, any of you, if you've ever worked for other arts organizations or just things like that, I'm sure you know that, people want your creativity, but often they also want to tell you how to be creative, which is never fun. And I just really have a strong appreciation for the fact that she is not that person and that she is very open when it comes to those things. So, and these people are not easy to come by. Like this is not something that I take for granted anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but a round of applause for Rachel for being an open director.